Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Huling, and I'm joined by Delaney Baro of Eagle Eye TV, future director of sports reporting to be next year. Really excited for her to join the team. But we're going to kind of hop into a new little talk show that we're starting. Obviously, both of us are on Zoom in quarantine, kind of having to do things from home now. So it's made everything difficult for Eagle Eye right now and members of the media across the country. Delaney, bringing you in now, how are you doing and what are you doing to stay busy, especially with school and a lot of things online now?
Well, there's definitely a lot of assignments that I've had to get done. It almost feels like there's more now, but I really think that's just because of all the extra time and me stretching it out. But Georgia's supposed to go into shelter in place tonight. So it's not really going to look that different for my life, at least, because you can still leave the house to exercise or go to the grocery store. But I have been just seeing one friend, and now we can't anymore technically because we just go on runs so that we wouldn't be alone. But now that you can only exercise with either people in your own house or you have to be 6 feet apart, and running 6 feet apart from somebody is just kind of weird. So unfortunately, that had to get canceled. So I will not be seeing anybody for a while. But I mean, hopefully this people listen and it'll be over in the 10 days that it's allotted. But I honestly think that it's going to get extended. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, Georgia's a big state and with a lot of people, especially in the Atlanta area. I'm sure that will pose problems. In Alabama, obviously, like we're still haven't really had a shelter in place order from the state. Many mayors, especially our mayors in Auburn and Opelika, have been really encouraging people to stay home, stay away. I think people have done that because a lot of things have closed. But I mean, obviously, there's still people out getting things, doing like you said, running, walking around the neighborhood, just getting that exercise that people need. I went and played golf yesterday because I just had to get out of the house. So, yeah, there's a lot of things going on. But we're going to hop into more of the sports aspect of this. Obviously, it's affecting society. I think we know that. But obviously, sports is a big part of the world, but also in America, it's a big part and things like the NBA, the college sports, and MLB, and the list goes on. And Major League Soccer, just to name a few leagues, have been canceled. And it's really, thrown problems like paying salaries and
Mhm.
schools getting their budget cuts and the NCAA making money off tournaments like March Madness and the Final Four at the end of the year. So I think everyone's seeing the effects of it, and schools have had to take pay cuts now. Delaney, what's your thoughts on just everything that's happened? Obviously, I think we know it's the right move because of this pandemic, but what are your thoughts just as this unfolded over the last couple of weeks?
It's definitely strange for me considering that I did work with Eagle Eye and then I also did other work with War Eagle Productions. So almost every single Auburn sporting event I had a part in. And without that to fill up my time, I just have so much more free time. And it's not even that I'm sad that I'm not getting paid because that's not that important to me. It was just the experience was amazing, and I'm really sad that that got cut short. And I was hoping that Auburn would make a Final Four run again this year and hopefully get to cover that in Atlanta because it's so close, such an amazing opportunity. But as you said, that's out of the question now. So it's been a really different adjustment. I know ESPN has been playing lots of throwback games and like they did an Auburn Focus Day, so they're still trying to keep things relevant, but it's definitely hard when so many things that people are looking forward to got canceled, especially with the Olympics now. Like, and those weren't supposed to be until late summer.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, obviously the Final Four would have been this weekend because the April 3rd through the 5th was this Final Four weekend. Monday would have been the national championship game in Atlanta, but now it won't happen, and there will be no Final Four until next April, or about a year from now. So we got a long time to wait. But hey, I mean, if Auburn were to make it back, it would be still two straight appearances, so that'd be kind of cool.
That
Um,
is true.
that would be really cool for Auburn to make it back again. Obviously, I asked you this. I know we did a little video thing for my own personal YouTube channel, but I want to ask you again the same question I asked you. Do you think the NCAA handled the decision right, whereas other professional leagues were kind of waiting around to see if they can finish their season? Do you think the NCAA maybe should have thought about finishing the year or just go ahead and cancel because you're already pushing into the fall sports calendar where other fall sports like football and soccer need to start practicing, and you shouldn't have to be worrying about basketball and the other spring sports?
Well, I think, like you said, if you compare it to the pro leagues and the NCAA, they're student athletes, so they have to fill both of those roles. So I think part of their decision came to do with that, and that they knew that the online learning would be an adjustment, and that in a way was a priority for the students. So they wanted to make sure that those who were set to graduate, whether it be a winter or a spring athlete, they still have that opportunity without putting too much pressure on them. And I was surprised, though, that they brought up the idea of playing in empty stadiums, but then that never happened because almost just a couple days later, they just canceled all the rest of the events. So I think that they definitely thought about it, and but in a way, it just more issues arose, like with the eligibility, which now that decision has come out, which for the winter athletes, it's sad, but spring athletes will get another year of eligibility, which is nice for them. And although it is sad for the winter athletes, they did complete the majority of their season. All that was left were the championships. And I wish that they had put thought into just pushing those back. But I think at the rate that everything's changing and the number of cases that are supposed to come up in the next couple weeks and just the increasing severity of the whole issue, I think that that's not going to be a possibility.
I agree, and I think I heard a point from ESPN sports reporter on YouTube. It was talking about if you put college sports in the summer and you finish like March Madness and the College World Series and in softball and baseball, you're going to have to compete with other professional leagues that may be waiting around, like MLB and NBA and MLS too. And I feel like the amount of sports that would be happening would be too much to combat with each other. And I think a lot of your fans in bigger markets are going to be wanting to watch professional sports compared to some of these college schools. I know everyone watches March Madness, but like it's just too much on at one time. I think for all of us to handle. So I think they were smart to do it, but obviously you hate to see that happened and the way it unfolded because they want to play and they want to those teams want to play for a championship, but it's really hard. Obviously, through all this, there's been a lot of contributions from professional athletes, even professional organizations. We saw the Patriots sending a plane to China for getting masks and things like that for healthcare workers. What do you how cool has it been really just to see some of the partnerships that people have been doing, like athletes and organizations, like even people on social media just doing stuff, like I've seen people doing workouts and even just talking to people live so that way people can have a chance to watch something. How cool has it been to see I guess the camaraderie from everyone in the sports world?
It's definitely been cool, and I've appreciated being able to watch it. And I think it just shows that sports are bigger than people think. It's not just the games, it's the communities. And those who are being really selfless are really showing how important everybody, like the world is, just how interconnected everything is. And I know, like, NBA player Marcus Smart, he donated some of his blood plasma for testing because he was one of the first pro players who came out with the virus, and now he's cleared from it. And I think there are several other athletes who weren't named who also are donating blood, and that's so generous of them. to put that, because who knows, they could be afraid of that and they're just risking it all to help, for the possibility to help others. They don't even know if it'll work out. It could all be for nothing, but they just have that hope. And I think that really shows that, like you said, the people doing the workouts and just still trying to continue on with normalcy as much as possible, it just shows how big everything is.
Oh yeah, for sure. And they've got to, obviously they have to stay fit because they're still got to play a season, or they're gonna play a season soon. So I think it's really cool that they're taking those opportunities to find ways to just use their talents and have things like that that they're able to do. But going off that, we're going to transition over to a little project that Delaney and I and a few others were involved with last night. So next week, we are planning on releasing a bracket for everyone to fill out on our website and social media. It'll be the top 32 Auburn sports moments in history. We've got old things, we got new things. It's going to be a really cool chance for people to vote on their favorite moment. Even alumni will get to see some of the stuff that they were involved with as students. And then even kids who are in school right now will get to see some of their favorite moments from the past couple years. So what I'm going to do is I have the list of matchups right here on my computer. I am It's kind of hard to read, so I'm just going to read them out. So we have two regions, the Aubrey region and the Aria region. I'm just going to go real rapid fire through the Aubrey region, then we can kind of talk about that, Delaney. So the first matchup in the Aubrey region will be the number one seed Kick Six versus the 2015 Auburn Kentucky basketball game. Number two seed will be the 2010 national title versus the 2005 Auburn Georgia football game. Number three will be baseball College World Series run, and then against the 14th seed Auburn Sweet 16 2002 run. The four seed matchup against will be swim and dive 5 straight national titles versus Pump Bama Punt, which will be the 13th seed. Fifth seed will be Bow Over the Top 1982 versus the 12th seed softball back-to-back SEC tournament champions. Sixth seed will be Iron Bowl 2019 versus the 11th seed men's basketball regular season title. The 7 versus 10 matchup will be Kentucky Auburn, which was college game day last year, versus the 10th seed Auburn, Florida in 1994. And then the 8-9 seed will round out this region as Bo Jackson's Heisman Trophy versus equestrian back-to-back NCAA titles 2018 and 19. So there's quite a few matchups. Obviously, we still have a whole other region, but we're going to kind of break down some of these matchups. Delaney, the one I was looking at was the Iron Bowl versus the men's basketball regular season title. I think that's a really interesting matchup because obviously the Iron Bowl means a lot, and I think it would be the favorite. But men's basketball winning a regular season title for the first time since the 90s when Cliff Ellis was a head coach, I think that means a lot to a lot of people. What are some of the games or matchups that you heard or see that you think would be really good?
Well, I don't have the list in front of me, but I know the one that with Bo Over the Top. I think that's going to be a really good matchup.
Yeah.
Is it against the 2015 Kentucky game?
Yeah, it's Bo Over the Top versus softball back-to-back SEC championships.
Okay, yeah, heard that one wrong. But I think
Okay.
that'll be an interesting one because for softball to do that, it just really shows, like, I think softball has come so far since when the program first started, and so I think that's a huge milestone in Auburn sports history. And then, of course, Bo Over the Top is a classic. So I think that'll be a close one. I'm excited to see what the public thinks about that.
Yeah, no, I think that will be a good one. Another one, I think some of the old timers, at least your alumni, will remember this game. But the 1994 Florida Auburn game, uh, going up against the Auburn Kentucky basketball game which was college game day, and I think those two games were really interesting because obviously college game day coming here for the first time. since it was first made a show for college basketball, I think is really cool. Um, and but also the fact that 1994 was a big year for Auburn in football because they were riding a undefeated streak after the 1993 undefeated season, but they also were on probation, and that was the coolest thing because they were able to win all these games, including beating Alabama in 1993, and then they came into this Florida game early in the year, had to play the number one team, and they still beat them. So I think that would be a really cool matchup to see in the tournament. Now, I am going to read off the ARIA region, which will be the last region, and we're just going to go rapid fire through that. So the first matchup will be the Final Four run 2019 versus 16 seed 1993 Iron Bowl, which I just mentioned was the game that finished off Auburn's undefeated season against Alabama. Number 2 seed will be Prayer at Jordan Hare, the Auburn Georgia game, where Auburn won on the crazy Hail Mary pass from Nick Marshall to Ricardo Lewis. And that will be playing the 15 seed 2017 Iron Bowl. I think in the voting, which we had a little bit of voting last night between some of our staff and members, I think the 2017 Iron Bowl might be a little low, but we'll see how the people vote on that one. The next matchup will be 3 seed Camback 2010 Iron Bowl versus the 14 seed Cam Newton Heisman. So basically, you're picking your favorite Cam Newton moment. So that was an interesting seeding as well. Now the next one is the 4 seed softball 2016 College World Series final run versus the David Ross home run in the NCAA regionals to go to the College World Series. And then your next one will be the 2001 Auburn Florida game, playing the Gymnastics, beating Alabama in 2016 for the first time since 1979. 6 seed will be 2004 undefeated season against the 11th seed women's swim and dive, winning 3 straight NCAA titles. 7 seed will be Auburn, Georgia 2017 versus the 10 seed 1989 first time ever. And rounding out this region will be Pat Sullivan Heisman Trophy against the 1957 national title. So I think in this, my favorite is kind of the old ones that I just mentioned, the 8-9 matchup, Pat Sullivan Heisman Trophy versus the 1957 national title. I think a lot of people who were living during those times will have a cool chance to vote for those. Delaney, what do you think of that matchup specifically?
I think that like that old matchup, that's going to be a good one. It's definitely going to bring back memories, especially for the alumni who participate. And I personally think this region as a whole is going to include quite a few upsets and close matches. So I'm super excited to see that.
Yeah, and I think also the Final Four run, being the number one seed, obviously I think will be a favorite out of everyone's minds. But the 1993 Iron Bowl, my parents actually let me know this last night. The run that James Bostic made to beat Alabama at the end still holds the highest on the Richter scale that Jordan Hare Stadium has ever been
Wow.
when he made that run. In fact, my parents told me that their friends have told them they were watching that game about, I think, not far from campus, but they were off campus. They said they heard the stadium from there, and it sounded like a jet was crashing, like in the ground or something like that. It was
That's so
insane.
awesome.
So, yes, and if you've never seen that game, you should check it out. In fact, Bo Nix's dad, Patrick Nix, had to come in for Stan White, who was the starting quarterback, and he's the radio broadcaster for Auburn football right now on the radio. And he had to come in. Patrick Nix had to come into that game as a freshman, and he threw one of the biggest passes in the game to Frank Sanders, who caught the ball and dove over the end zone for the touchdown. So that was a big moment in Bo's father's career at Auburn, and yeah, big moment for Auburn. Also, I think one other fun matchup, and you can also tell me what you think of this one as well. Will be Cam Newton's Heisman versus the comeback. I think it was weird how we voted it, but like I think it will be an interesting matchup though because you've got Cam Newton's best and only Iron Bowl that he ever played in against his own Heisman Trophy. I think it's definitely a part of his Heisman moment, but as a game, the comeback was special to Auburn fans because when you beat Alabama, it means a lot. So, what do you think about that matchup?
I definitely think that was when you read out the matchups, that was one of the ones that stuck out in my head. I think everybody loves Cam, even if, well, now he's not on the Panthers, but even for people who weren't Panthers fans, they rooted for Cam. And so I think that's going to be a fan favorite matchup, and I'm really interested to see which one comes out the winner.
For sure. Well, it should be really interesting. We will have a full scale bracket once it's made. We're in the process of getting these things together. It'll be online, social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram for you to vote on. So please do that, and just we'll have some fun with that while we're all sitting at home. You can debate over your classic Auburn matchups if you're a big fan of the Tigers and yeah, it would be really interesting. But I think that's all for us. We'll be back sometime next week with another video. We'll talk more about the bracket, more about coronavirus and other things going on in the sports world as they happen. Delaney, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you guys next week.